Hello, my name is Abby Trosper. Today I will be discussing with you realism, both contemporary realistic fiction and historical fiction. I will be sharing with you a book called Ling and Ting, not exactly the same, and One Crazy Summer. I'll start off by discussing Ling and Ting, not exactly the same. In this book, as far as diverse perspectives, it's culturally generic. Although Ling and Ting are of Asian descent, this can be seen in Story 3 with the dumplings and Story 4 with the chopsticks. It's not the emphasis of the story. They're not racially discriminated against, and there's not really an emphasis on their culture, although it is mentioned. Main topics are sisterhood, family, childhood, and individuality. This falls under, as I said, the contemporary realistic fiction genre. Themes, the explicit theme is they're not exactly the same, but they always stay together. That can be seen on page 42. The implicit theme is even though you might be different from your friends or your family, you can still love them just the same and stay by their side. Oftentimes, identical twins, especially children, might struggle with finding their identity because of their physical appearance and that they do look exactly the same physically. But in this book, the twins are on a journey of self-discovery and also learning about the differences they have from one another and learning how to appreciate that. In Ling and Ting, not exactly the same, the two identical sisters are discovering who they are and how they differ from one another. Ling and Ting learn that although they are different from one another, they can still appreciate the characteristics that each other does have. So I will show you now my character chart that I've made for this book. Alright, this is it. It's a character organizer. It's comparing and contrasting the characters. How are they alike? Ling and Ting are identical twins. That means they come from the same family. They have the same genetic makeup and look exactly the same. Additionally, they both care deeply for one another. That's how they're alike as well. But, as they say multiple times, they are different from one another. Ling seems to be more responsible and more composed. When the girls get haircuts, she is able to hold still. She leads the magic trick, makes her dumplings tighter, uses a fork instead of chopsticks, and corrects Ling when she is wrong. She seems like more of the leader in the sisterhood. On the other hand, Ting, she seems to be a bit forgetful and silly. When they get a haircut, she sneezes, and it messes it up. Unlike Ling, she forgets her card during the magic trick, packs her dumplings full, uses chopsticks, and forgets to do things, and mixes up stories. So there were a few illustrations in this book that I found really interesting, and I found that they are really representative of the differences between the girls. So here we see Ling. She sits in the chair and sits very still as she's getting her haircut. But then we see Ting, and a page later, we see that she sneezes and messes up her haircut. But that's okay because it's kind of representative of how the twins are different on the inside. Next, the story with the magic trick, we see, as I said, that Ling is leading the magic trick. She asks Ting to pick a card. She does pick a card, but then Ting forgets the card that she had. But then in the end, the girls decide it's okay, and they still have fun anyway. Making dumplings, Ling packs her dumplings tight. She says, "I will close my dumplings tight, then our money will not get away." Ting, on the other hand, says, "I will put a lot of meat in my dumplings, so we will be very rich." Then we go to the chopstick story. We see that Ling can't use chopsticks. She says, "Chopsticks are tricky, they are hard to use." Then Ting says, "Chopsticks are not tricky, they're not hard to use." So then she tries to help Ling eat with chopsticks. And in the end, they compromise, and Ling decides on a fork. So in each story, we see that the girls experience their differences, but are able to reach a compromise and appreciate the differences that they have from one another. In all, I do think that the book is a cute read, but it doesn't have a lot of literary merit and jumps around a lot, so I probably wouldn't choose to share that in a classroom setting. The next book I will discuss with you is One Crazy Summer by Rita Williams Garcia. In this book, it's a culturally specific, diverse perspective. This book places a definite emphasis on the African American society of the 50s and 60s. The author tells the story from the point of view of an 11-year-old African-American girl at the time of the Civil Rights Movement and of the rise of the Black Panthers. Through this book, the reader is able to learn more about the African-American society at this time and what it might have been like to be racially discriminated against. Main topics within are family, sisterhood, parenting, and justice. Controversial topics. There are quite a few in comparison to Ling and Ting, especially because racial discrimination is a key part of this book, so that can be seen as controversial within the classroom. So the topics are racial discrimination, racial violence, non-traditional family dynamic, seeing as the girls were raised by their grandmother and their dad, because their mom was in the picture, and they come for a summer to visit her, and she is a negligent mother and doesn't really take care of them. That explains why Delphine has to be the mother figure. The Black Panther Society, and growing up. The girls are growing up and kind of learning who they are, especially Delphine. This book, as I said, falls under the genre of historical fiction. I didn't really find an explicit theme, but the implicit theme that I found was one shouldn't let their age discourage them from doing their part in seeking justice and standing for what is right. So if you read this book, you will go on a journey with three sisters, Delphine, Vanetta, and Fern, as they venture to California to spend the summer with their mother, whom they know little of. During their stay, they learn about their culture and how to rise and fight for justice. One Crazy Summer takes the reader through Delphine's journey of self-discovery. So, as I did with Ling and Ting, I have made a character comparison and contrast chart. I have chosen Delphine and Fern as my characters to compare and contrast. Both girls are daughters to Cecile, their estranged mother. They both have been missing a mother in their lives and have experienced a non-traditional upbringing as a result. Delphine is the eldest daughter in the family. She acts as a mother to her two little sisters, Fern and Vanetta, because their mother is negligent and absent. Delphine is very responsible and wise for an 11-year-old. She protects her sisters and takes care of them. And then Fern is the youngest daughter, so that right away is a difference. They are both the eldest and the youngest. Cecile has resentment towards Fern and refuses to call her by name since Fern is not the name she gave her. Fern is more sensitive and naive and is reliant upon Delphine. So the sisters are very close. As Delphine admits, she and Fern share a special bond. Delphine connects to Fern more than she does Vanetta, and she cherishes her relationship with Fern and looks out for her. Alright. See here? I just wanted to read a little bit for you, some examples for you. So with this one, we kind of see that Delphine is the motherly figure in several examples. So right away in this book it says, "Sit back, Fern," I said, plain from my firm voice. "We're getting ready to land." And there are some other examples throughout the book, such as when Delphine makes the executive decision that the girls aren't going to go to the fair, and then when Delphine stands up for Fern when Vanetta has ruined her doll. Those are just some examples of how Delphine is a motherly figure and how she and Fern share a very special relationship. So thank you for watching, and I hope you learned a little bit more about realism.